Hey guys, what's going on? It's 4Strings Animation here, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a walk cycle. Now, this is a character that we modeled in my last video. Go make sure to check that out. And we're just going to take this rig that comes into Blender with an add-on, and we are going to animate this pretty simple walk cycle. It shouldn't take too long. And yeah, let's dive right in. Okay, so we are going to hop right back into Blender, right where we left off. This is our character that we made last time, as you can see. Now, what we're going to be doing in this tutorial is we're going to be fixing a couple of little errors that I forgot to mention last time, and then we're going to be animating her, I should say. So how we're going to start is if you see, if we take the rig here and we go back into pose mode, you can see that if you take her foot and move it, and then we move this way, you can see that it's not connected. It's not like a dress. So that's what we were going for, like a dress sort of feel. So what we want to do is we want to click on the character, right? We're going to go into front view, press tab to go into edit mode, okay? Remember, you can slow all this down in the settings. We're going to zoom in a little bit. Press 3 for face select, and press Option Z. So that's going to make it so we can see everything. Maybe zoom out a little. And then we're going to select exactly half. So make sure that this line lines up with the blue up and down line, the Z line. And we're going to select all of that, press X, and then press faces. So you should notice that we only have half of the character left. We're going to press Option Z again. What Option Z does is it makes it so that we can see through the character or not. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to modifiers. We're going to add a modifier. Clicking here, right? And then under generate, we're going to press mirror right there. So once again, you're going to go to modifiers, under generate, mirror this up. So now you can see already that we have the other side back imported. Now, what we did last time on accident is we unchecked merge and then forgot to recheck it. So by adding the mirror again, it'll make it so that there's merge. If there's not merge, then just select it, and the default is good. Then press tab to go back out of edit mode, and then press the arrow, and then press apply. You can also go Command A to apply it. Now if we go back into edit mode, she's one character. So now if we go into pose mode, right, Control tab for pose mode if you click on the rig. If we move the foot again, it's more of like a dress. Okay, so now we're going to get into the walk cycle, okay? So go from object mode. If you're selecting this, select the rig. This is the rig. Press tab, and you'll go into edit mode. And press tab again to go back into object. If you click on this thing, go to pose mode, or you can just press Control tab, just like that. Okay. That's what I usually use. It's just a much faster method. Hotkeys. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out by taking one of her feet, right? This is for a walk cycle, by the way, and moving it on the Y axis, just like this, right? Now, the first pose in a walk cycle is called a contact pose, and it's where your front heel is touching the floor, and your back toe is touching the floor. Or, in other words, contacting the floor. That's why it's called that. So we want to rotate this foot so it's in line with this line of the dress. Right here, you can go into side view to do that as well. Maybe rotate it even a little more, a little less, however you want. I found that this looks good. Then we're going to select, or make sure it's this big rectangle here for the foot, and not like, and not any of the other bones. So we want to select that big rectangle, go into side view again, except on this side, and we're going to move this one on the Y. Okay? And then we're going to rotate this one on the X, the other direction, like that, and press G to move, Z to move on the Z. Just like that. Maybe move it a little forwards. Just like this. So that's the pose. And then we're going to press I for insert keyframe. You can also go to pose. Where is it? Oh, no, not pose. You go like this, insert keyframe, where is it? Insert keyframes. I just pushed right click, but it's easier if you just press I for insert keyframe. Now we're going to do location, rotation, and scale, okay? We're probably only going to be using location and rotation, but if you do location and rotation, this will make it so that if you end up scaling something down or scaling something up, it'll still be, it'll still work. So select that, and then we're going to select the other bone as well that we put in that spot. Press I, and your cursor should already be there, and then press location, rotation, scale, and that should be good. So now if we move to any other keyframe, nothing's happened yet, but on number 1, this has happened, and we need that. And then we can actually also press the record button. This is going, it looks like a record button. It's called auto keyframing, which makes it so that you don't have to press I, location, rotation, scale every single time. So now we're just going to move the core piece, move that down just a tiny bit, just to there. That should be good. So this is how this is going to start. This is what the first pose looks like. Right now we're just going to do the feet, and then once we finish the feet, we're going to do the hands. So now after that, we're going to move forwards, use your arrow keys, or you can just click like there. We're going to go to the 1, 2, 3, 4th keyframe. So if this says 4, you know you're in the right spot. Make sure auto keyframing is on, and then you're going to press this bone right here, the first one that we animated, or not animated, just put a pose on. And then we're going to rotate it on the X back to its original position, like that. And now this is the low pose. This is the second pose in a walk cycle. This is going to be very important. This is the lowest part. That's why it's called the low pose. So you should bring the core down so that she's bending her knees like this. If you want a big, like really cartoony animation, then emphasize that, like this, for squash and stretch. But we're just making a simple one right now, so we're just going to put it like right here. Right there. And then we're going to take the back foot, and we're going to move this one on the Y. And then on the Y, wait a second. We're going to move this one on the, wait, for the low pose? Yeah. So we need to move the core down a little more so that she's bending her knees. Maybe even rotate it a tiny, tiny bit on the X, just so she's just off the center line. And then we're going to take, we're going to take the back foot and we're going to move this one on the Y. Rotate this actually on the X, like this. Okay, so she's going to have like her foot sort of dragging right here. And so if we go back to the first pose, that's what it would look like. Just like that. So actually, if we move this foot up a little bit, then it'll go like that. Maybe, go back to this position. Maybe move it up a little more so it doesn't move off of the center line. That should be perfect, or off the floor. And then we're gonna take, so we're on frame 4, right? And then we're gonna go 1, 2, 3. So we're on 7, right? And we can just take the same foot. Now we're gonna move on to the passing pose, which is where both feet are passing. It's sort of self-explanatory. You press G, Y, make sure that the back foot is selected, and move it in like this. So that should just be the back foot. Actually, we're going to move the core now because it's just going to make it much easier to animate. So select the core, press G, Z. We're going to move that up on the Z axis. Now, I might make a run cycle tutorial later on, but this a walk cycle is just much easier. After the passing pose in a run cycle, you would have something called a high pose, which is where your body is really stretched out and your back foot looks like this. But we're not doing that today. We're going to do a walk cycle. It's much more natural. And we're going to take actually this front foot now, move it on the Y like this, and then rotate it on the X. And then move it up so it's back on the floor. And then actually move it on the Y again so they're sort of lined up, but we want this one to be more forwards, like this. This is what you should have. And then we can move her core up a little bit more because in the walk cycle, this is going to be the highest pose, right? Just like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to animate the arms. Okay, so go back to frame 1. So that's all you need to do right now for the legs. Excuse me, gosh. What you have to do all you have to do now is to loop it. We're not going to do this yet, but we're going to press A, and then press A in here so we can select all these keyframes. Press Command C to copy. Go from frame 7, go forward 3 frames, 1, 2, 3, and then press Command Shift V. That'll make all the frames reverse. And then if we take this and we go 1, 2, 3, we can end the timeline at frame 18 once before 19. And then we're going to take the first keyframe, select that, press Command C, make sure you're on the 19th, it should say 19 right here, press Command C, Command V, and then the first pose should be here. And why we end it, why we put the keyframe right after the end is so that when it loops, it doesn't have the same pose for 2 frames. So if we play it, her arms don't do anything, but this is what her legs do. It's a little bit laggy because of the subdivision surface, but we're not going to do this yet. We're going to put on we're going to do the arms. So select everything except for these 3 frames, press X and delete keyframes. So now we should just have that. Now we're going to go to frame 1, deselect everything, and we're going to take the arms. This is the trickiest part, so I might do this a little bit slower. Remember, you can always rewind and always watch this slower. we're going to bring this down on the Z, move it sideways on the X, and move it up on the Z a little more. Just like this. And then if we go to side view, we can move it on the Y, move it down on the Z a little more. We want her arm not to be bending too much. And then we're going to go back to the Z. We're going to rotate this on the Y. And then it'll go diagonal like this. You don't want that. It's going on the local. That's actually the wrong. You want to press R, Y, and then press Y again. And you should be able to rotate it just like that on this Y-axis. Now if we copy this pose, so we press Command C. I've been really experimenting with this, and then we take this, we go like this. We do right click, and then we press Paste Pose, and then we go to Pose flipped on X-axis. So it should be the exact same pose, but on the X. This is really useful, okay? So I'm going to be using this a lot in the tutorial, probably. It's really useful, so you should definitely use this. It definitely speeds up your process. Then we're going to go forwards 3 frames. So we're on the 4th frame. You can tell that this is the frame this is the pose of the low pose, because if you go forwards, it starts to change. And if you go backwards, it starts to change. So here, nothing's changing. This is one pose. And then you're going to take, or actually if we go back to the first frame, we didn't finish this one yet. You always want the opposite hand from the foot in the back. So that might sound a bit confusing, but this hand, we want to move this one backwards because the front foot is forwards. So when you walk, your hands aren't always like exactly with your foot. Now we want to have this a bit of a 90-degree angle, not too much. And then if we move it back on the Z again, rotate on the X. We want the hands to be lined up with the arm, like this. We're actually going to move it a little bit more on the Y, a little bit more on the Z. Rotate it on the X to line it up, just like that. So the contact pose is not the pose where your hands are farthest apart. It's actually the low pose. So we're going to take this arm now, and since this one's in the back, since this foot is in the back, we have to bring this hand to the front, and then move this on the Z. We want it a bit more of a 90-degree angle, and then rotate it on the X, say 90 degrees, and then it might go the wrong way, so press dash or negative, and it should go back there. You can adjust this even more, press Z, move it up, rotate on the X however you want, just like that. And now we have our first pose, just like that. So you can always rewind to watch this again if you missed something. Remember, you can always slow it down. I know I'm saying this a lot, but I really encourage you guys to rewind it and keep doing this until it seems perfect to you. This seems good to me, and for the sake of the video, I don't want to make it too long. So I'm going to go to frame 4 now. And now we're at the low pose. And we're going to take this hand, and it's how I said earlier that the hands are farthest apart at the low pose. So you want to move this one more on the Y, up on the Z, just like that. And then you're going to take this hand, move it forwards on the Y, up on the Z, just like that. And then we're going to rotate this on the Z as well, so it's lined up. It's the biggest part about this. I always mess that up. I make it so that the hands aren't lined up with the arm, and it makes it look so much worse than it should have. And if we rotate the back one, actually back on the Z, rotate it on the Y is what we wanted. Just like that. Now, if we go forwards to the 7th frame, last one, we're going to make it so that these hands are, well, passing, just like the feet. So we're going to move this one here. I messed this up a lot. You might too. Something that I did when I was first doing walk cycles and animating like this. You want to press G, Z. Don't let the arm bend. You want it to be straight. If it isn't straight, then it's going to look like her arms are always bent and like just shooting forwards and not really swinging. And we want like a sort of like jolly, happy swing instead of a like rigid type of motion. So we're going to move these to her sides, just like this, like that. Now, it may look like her arms are a little bit too straight right now. If you shift-click this one, if you click this, shift-click this bone, press G, Z, not X, and move it up a tiny bit. We don't want it to be stretching too much. Then we can then both of them will go up at the same time. Now we're going to select this bone again, rotate it on the X, so it's lined up. We're going to rotate this one also on the X, so that it's lined up. And we're going to move this one on the Y. And then we're going to move this one on the Y, just like this. So that they should be passing and really close together, just like that. Without overlays on, you can see side view, back view, other side view, and front view. So this is what you want it to look like. Now, I actually didn't line this hand up enough, so I'm going to rotate that one on the X, just like this. And maybe we can, doesn't hurt to line this one up even more, just like this. So we want to really emphasize this motion. Now, we're going to press A. This is where all the magic happens. Press A, so we select every bone. Press A here for the keyframes. Press Command C to copy them. Go forwards 3 frames. 1, 2, 3. Should be on the 10th frame. And then press Command Shift V to reverse all of these bones, keyframes. And also, we copied and pasted them, but in reverse. So then they're in the reverse, so it's much better. So now we're going to go to 19, like I showed you before. Make sure all the bones are selected. Click the first keyframe so it turns orange. That means you've selected it. So select that. Press Command C. And without Shift, press Command V. And that'll paste the first pose. And now, if we turn off overlays, you can see that we actually have a pretty good walk cycle. This is a perfect way to make a pretty simple walk cycle. You can adjust this however you want. Maybe if the arms are going a little bit too far out or too high for you. Maybe if you want it to be a little more rigid. Just adjust this however you want. Play with all of these bones. It's really fun to do this. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment on what you think I should do next. And yeah, happy Halloween.